Okay, hello there, everyone. This is Alan English, actor, writer, and autism trainer. This is another Asperger syndrome tutorial, and this is Asperger syndrome tutorial, a parent's perspective. Hello there. Could you please introduce yourself to camera, please?
Hello, my name's Katherine English and I am Alan's mum.
Okay, now please describe your early experiences of parenting me, your early years.
Well, you were a very good baby. You were very easy to settle, and you were a normal baby. You were all the levels of for your age were passed with your growing and what have you, and you were you spoke at a reasonable age. You were a wee bit unsure of yourself when you were toddling. You were a little bit unsure of that, and you walked when you were 18 months old. And then you went to the Choose group in Ferryhill Church, where we lived in Aberdeen. And even at a very young age, you enjoyed looking at little books and sitting on your own and looking at books. Although you couldn't read, you enjoyed looking at these wee books and the pictures. And you were very happy doing that. And that continued to the twos group, where at one point they said to me, Alan's not running about with the other children, he would rather sit and look at this wee book. And they were a wee bit concerned about that. That was a pattern that was to go through your life, was to be interested in books, and you learned at a very early age to read, partly because my father used to take you out even when you were in a go chair and teach you to read the signs off the roads. So by the time that you went to nursery when you were 4, um, you had an idea of letters and could probably read very small words, because you had a great memory and could recognise the letters. You were also very, very good at doing jigsaw puzzles at a very young age. Um, and I can remember that. You were doing 20-piece jigsaws when you were probably about a 2-year-old child, which was very, very good. So you always had a fantastic memory. So anyway, you went to nursery. Now the nursery teacher lived up the road from us and knew you a little bit, and you were a normal child in the nursery. The only complaint she gave me was that, did I give you your lunch? Did I give Alan his lunch at lunchtime, because he's coming to the afternoon session and eating everything he could get his hands on. So you were a normal child, and that was at that age. You seemed to play in the garden with your sister. Um, you were a bright child in many ways, and that was okay. Um, wouldn't have thought there was anything untoward with you then, except you were a bit of a loner, but children can be. And then you were supposed to start school at 4.5, and I think it was the nursery teacher said, look, I think Alan would be better if he waited till he was 5.5, and we agreed, because although you were a bright enough child, you weren't socially enough adept at going to school yet. So the right decision was made to go to school when you were 5.5. You were still 5, you weren't 6, you weren't behind, you just went to school. You were one of the children that would have went at 4.5, and we decided that you'd be better going at 5.5, which was fine and it worked out well. In primary school, the teacher, when I think back now in the primary school, you were very autism or anything like that. It wasn't really well known enough, and the teachers didn't know about it. Neither did I, and I don't think at that stage where we thought there was anything that there was particularly wrong with you. It's just that you were a little bit socially inadept. So anyway, your school reports were all right, and they said you were slow at writing, but that progressed over time. You didn't know whether you were right-handed or left-handed, so you made a decision yourself to become right-handed. And you went through the school. You didn't have that many friends, but there was no complaints from the school about your bad behaviour or anything like that. At least if there was, I can't remember. And I noticed as a child, though, that your language was pedantic a bit. You watched a lot of television, and at one point, one of our friends commented that Alan had an American accent or mid-Atlantic accent. You still loved to be on your own, and that kind of worried me a wee bit. And you weren't making friends the way that I would have liked you. You had no peer group, and I sometimes felt as though the children just never accepted you. But everybody's different, and there's different children in primary schools, so that there was nothing flagged up then very much. It wasn't until you get further up into the primary school that we felt there was something that we needed to look at. You became upset coming home from school. You were being bullied, and we got you looked at. And they said that he had an above average IQ, but there was something that they just didn't quite know. Bearing in mind that that was nearly 40 years ago, and nobody knew very much about Asperger's. Anyway, I was worried and upset that you were getting bullied, and I felt you were getting left out, and I was terribly, terribly upset about that, as you can imagine. Anyway, you joined the Scouts, and you seemed to enjoy that, and there was no problem there. You seemed to fit in. I can't remember whether whether you were in the gang show in primary, or is it when you went to the secondary school. Anyway, you went up to the secondary school, and it was very traumatic for you and very traumatic for us. But this time we were told there was something wrong, but they were giving no indication what, but there was something wrong with your personality. It was very traumatic. The head teacher was very good, and the other teachers were very good. You didn't fit in. You were alone or on the playground talking to yourself sometimes, and I asked you why, because nobody else will talk to me. And it was very, very upsetting for us all, for your father, for myself. Yvonne wasn't aware so much about that, but I was, and I can remember a paper round that you did, and somebody started bullying you, and things like that. And then there was a girl that you liked, and I think it was at secondary school, and that was quite hard for you, getting rebuffed. And then I was hearing whispers, oh, there's something wrong with Alan. With my neighbour had said there's something wrong, but this time you'd be about 13, and nobody told us what was wrong, but they said that there was some, but they didn't know what it was. And on and off, I got you seen. We got you seen to by the doctor, the children's psychiatric doctor at the hospital in Aberdeen. Anyway, but then we're moving on, and you found an interest in the arts, which became a young actor, and you joined a company in Aberdeen that were very good, and the lady that ran it became a surrogate granny to you, and that was Annie Ingalls. And Annie Ingalls saw that you had a wonderful potential, and that even she told us once that she gave you a role in this thing before. I think it was Much Ado About Nothing.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Midsummer Nights. She says, I gave him that role even without auditioning him, because I knew he was going to be wonderful in it. So she had a lot of time and saw the great potential, and was very good to Alan. And Alan did well with that, with these productions, and he did fit in. Now, as fate would have it, Alan auditioned and got into the school panto, and that started to turn it round for him. And he played one of the ugly sisters. Now, that was a good turning point for Alan, because then he was good at it, and the children started to respect him. At that time, I was working in Ferryhill School, doing the playground supervisor bit, and the children were all going up to the pantomime, and they all come back raving, and they said, "Your son was the best, Mrs. English." And I knew then that Alan had got a lot of respect from the other pupils in the school over that. And then Alan went on from there to continue doing his drama things at night, and he made friends with a wee group of boys, and they lived quite near him. And his teenage years for a few were normal, normal as they could be, and I felt as though he'd fitted in. And I think they understood him, but I think the teachers, when Alan went through dramatic, it was very dramatic at the beginning. I think the teachers said a wee word with the children, said, "Look, uh, Alan's finding it hard to fit, and he's a wee bit different." Anyway, we're fast forward. Your school reports were all right. They were good, and we knew that you would go on and sit your hires, and you got half decent standard grades, and then of course you were very interested in modern studies, and even at a young age you were interested in politics, and you took modern studies, and you took drama and English, and you were brilliant at drama because your speech was very good, and for a child of your age and everything like that. You still did crazy things like a normal teenager. I can remember once I wouldn't let you get your hair cut, so you did it yourself in the bathroom, and it was a typical teenage thing to do. And you went on, and you were at school, you got good hires, you stayed on to 6 year, and you ended up with good enough hires to get into university. You getting 2 B's and an A, I think it was, if I mind right. So I was dead chuffed about that, actually. So anyway, you wanted to go to drama school in Glasgow and just couldn't afford it. So you applied and got into to do to university in Aberdeen to do librarian studies, or what was it?
Publishing studies.
Publishing studies. So you did that, you did the 3 years, and lo and behold, you got enough marks to go in and do the 4th year, which was the honours bit. And as far as I was aware, there wasn't any problems with your university socialising, although you maybe didn't do that much. You're probably going away from university to go and rehearse something with one of your drama groups. So that was a fairly settled time-ish to last 6 months of that.
Okay, now, okay, can I just pause you here for a second? I just want to ask you a question. Okay, when do you recall that I received my diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, and how did you react to it?
Well, I think we got a diagnosis when you were still at school, round about when you were 16. Now, I didn't know what Asperger syndrome was. They were saying it was something on the autistic spectrum, but I am not up on. I can tell you about mumps and stuff like that, and I would know exactly how to treat a physical illness, but I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what Asperger's was or autism, but I had learned over the years how to deal with you and how to calm you down. It's a mother's instinct, but nobody really at that stage in the school or even in other places were not geared up enough in this. It just simply wasn't well known enough. So you got your diagnosis when you were 16, and I felt it was you were going through the high school and sitting exams and things like that, and I didn't want you to be upset with that. And I'm also a very strong advocate, even now, of not labelling anybody. I really don't believe in it. I don't think you should introduce yourself as I'm Alan English, I have Asperger's. You're just Alan, the same way as I am myself. I wouldn't put a label on me, although there's lots of things wrong with me or that aren't quite so fair. I mean, I get very upset and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm just me, and I just feel as though people with Asperger's and autism should be accepted for what they are. But now that we're getting to know a heck of a lot more about it, people that are around people with Asperger's have a far better idea how to treat them. And that wasn't known when Alan was growing up by the doctors, the teachers, or anybody, and ourselves. I brought Alan up with a lot of love and a lot of, did my best. I probably made loads of mistakes, but I was given no guidance or support at all. So we just did our best, myself and my husband.
I'm going to ask, Matt, did you ever consider chemical cures or therapies?
No, I certainly would not. Even to this day, no. No. I wouldn't have said no to something that would have maybe have got you out one of your depressive moods when you were in it, when life was very low for you. Something to lift you out of that. But chemicals, no. I certainly would never entertain anything like that.
How did our relationship evolve from your perspective as I emerged into adulthood?
Well, it became, you must remember, Alan, you were out the house and away to London at the age of 23. You've nearly been out the house as long as you were in it, to be honest. I think, well, you're coming up for 40. You went away to the wee drama school in London, and that was a living experience. I never really worried that you couldn't look after yourself in that respect. You mean, even as a child and a teenager, you were more than able of coming in and making yourself something in the house, um, and stuff like that. And you're not going to be a great cook. You never will be. But you were never sort of unable to do things for yourself. I mean, and you were clean, so I wasn't worried that you were going to be have a scruffy life or anything like that. You were brought up to keep yourself tidy. You always had clean clothes, so I didn't think that you would. I never worried that you were going to be in London and not being able to look after yourself. So I think the drama thing down there was an experience for you. Your flat wasn't great, but there you go. And then you were in jongulars and different places like that. And my experience with you as an adult, and although you've not been in my life every day since you were 23, um, I think it grew into, I respected you a lot. And of course, and as you've got older and there's more known about this thing, and then um, that that has, as we've got older, we've learned more as time has moved on, and it's got a bit easier. At one point, you accused your dad and I of causing this, and we were very, very angry at that because, as far as we were concerned, we didn't cause it, and it was just one of these things. But of course, you always think. I mean, I've thought it myself. Was it the difficult birth I had, or was it something like that? But I just don't know, and I don't think MD knows what it is, what causes it. That's going to remain a mystery. But at the end of the day, it's made you what you are, and I'm very proud of the way that your life has gone and is going. And you've got a group of friends in London that are very, very supportive to you, or so it seems. But the more you've got older and the more you've got on, is you've learned skills as well, how to interact with people too, and that is noticeable, you know. So all in all, as far as I'm concerned, and my husband is your dad, we've got a good relationship with you, and I hope we'll continue to have it.
Just a couple of things. I mean, the word issues kind of fitting in with London. I mean, not to kind of strike too much of a negative note. I mean, because I was dependent on you guys a lot financially, and you were also coping with, I had a lot of mental, health issues I was ringing you up about. I mean, how did you respond to that?
When you were in London?
Yes.
Well, it was very hard in some ways because we couldn't pop down and see you, but we did talk you through. We were used to talking you through things, both in Aberdeen and here. So we just talked through it, and we were never happy until we felt that you were happy, and we talked through it till we resolved it, and that is basically how we did it. I didn't spend the next week worrying myself. I felt as though if I talked you through it, I was all right. And then by this time, Ethne was on the scene, and you were getting a little bit of support, and that made a big difference to us. But by the way, the drama school knew that you had Asperger's because they got in touch with us, and then they wanted a reference, and I think Annie, your granny, gave them a very good reference about that, and so did my GP, whose name was Hugh Gibson. So you got, you were never a troublesome child. You weren't a bad child. You weren't ever going to be any problem apart from your personality being a bit different and getting a bit stressed. But then you could say that comes, the stressful bit of your personality could come from me, because I get quite stressed at sometimes. But at the end of the day, you get stressed and you know it's going to pass, and then you go on with the rest of your day.
Yeah, so this has been pretty thorough and overall pretty positive experience. I mean, I just want to, just close on any last words or any last thoughts, Ma.
Except to say that my journey with you as a parent has been sad, it's been happy, it's been enlightening. I have drawn strength that I never, having a child like you, that I never thought I had. But you must bear in mind that there's two other little people that come into this that I dealt with as well, that I was used to dealing with children. I had two nephews that I treat as my own, and around about the time you were going through that, they were wee boys that I had to sort of try and understand as well. So I had quite a lot going on in my life, to be honest, and they were different personalities as well, and so was Yvonne. So I had four children that were all different, and you had problems that were different from the other lot. So from that point of view, I had quite a lot on my plate, and then my father had Alzheimer's at the time, and I was dealing with that. And I just think somebody up there gave me the strength to go through quite a tough part in my life, dealing with a hell of a lot. But I know it's a cliche, but I think it made me the person I am today. Now, if I could turn back the clock and somebody said to me, would you rather Alan didn't have this? I would probably say yes. But then everybody in life gets handed things. Maybe if Alan hadn't had that, it would have had something else. Because we've all got things in our life we've got to deal with. And I think Alan's dealing with his very well. And as for myself, I'm just so proud of Alan. I really am. And I'm so proud that a lot of people like him. I'm so proud of all the accomplishments he's done, and all the things that I've seen him in. I thought he's been absolutely wonderful. He's a very intelligent young man. He's also got a heart of gold, and is very caring towards his parents, and we've got a very good relationship, and I hope that it continues for many years to come.
Alright, okay. Okay, that's my mother, Katherine English, and off camera this is Alan English, actor, writer and autism trainer with Asperger syndrome tutorials. Okay, that's it from here for now. I'll see you later.